This is an interactive video session that will help you to improve the skill of bias self-reflection. As a lecturer, you may practice regularly reflecting on one's own potential biases and preconceived notions towards students from different cultural backgrounds. Lecturers with this skill work to identify and address any biases they may hold that could influence their interactions with students.
Having this skill means that you are able to self-reflect about interactions with students from diverse cultures, seek feedback from colleagues or students to identify potential biases, correct any biases that affect student relationships, adjust teaching methods or approaches based on self-awareness of biases.
Awareness of potential biases. Educational bias is something that all education professionals should be aware of. Reflecting on and considering how to avoid bias in education can reduce its negative impact. Bias usually refers to a predisposition or prejudice on a particular issue that can prevent one from being neutral in dealing with others. When attitudes are biased, whatever is implicit or explicit, they are often reflected in the language and manner in which individuals interact with each other. In education, bias can take several forms, such as cognitive bias, cultural bias, or institutional bias.
Cognitive biases often influence lecturers' perceptions of their students based on stereotypes related to race, ethnicity, gender, and socio-economic status. For example, lecturers may unconsciously have lower expectations of students from marginalized backgrounds, which can lead to reduced support and opportunities.
Cultural biases arise from the cultural narratives that prevail in society. In many education systems, study programs are designed around the attitudes and values of the dominant culture without taking into account the history and contributions of other cultural groups. This neglect can lead to a lack of representation and recognition of students from different cultures, which fosters exclusion and feelings of alienation.
Institutional biases are embedded in the policy and practice of education systems. These can include standardized tests, disciplinary measures, and resource allocation, which can disproportionately affect certain groups of students.
The first step in avoiding biases influencing our thoughts and actions is to honestly acknowledge the biases we have. This can be uncomfortable. As educators, we are committed to providing a high-quality education for all students. To do this, it is necessary to reflect on where we may be making mistakes when working with multicultural students.
Think about the following first. Does your language always include everyone? Do you apply rewards and sanctions correctly in your environment? For example, are there students who are allowed to speak and express themselves more than others? Do you set lower expectations for some learners? Do the questions you ask during lectures and activities allow everyone to contribute and assess their learning? Has your previous experience with other nationalities influenced your approach to students?
Strategies for addressing personal biases. Awareness of potential bias and investing in resources to overcome it are key to creating an environment where all students feel welcome. Culturally responsive teaching and assessment. Lecturers can work to develop culturally sensitive teaching which aims to recognize and appreciate students' cultural backgrounds. He or she can do this by integrating diverse perspectives into the curriculum, using culturally relevant materials, and fostering an inclusive classroom environment.
Continuous professional development is essential to identify and address bias in the classroom. Workshops focusing on implicit and explicit bias, cultural competence, and equitable teaching practices can provide educators with the tools to create inclusive learning environments.
Inclusive practices. This includes reviewing disciplinary measures to ensure that they are fair, promoting diverse study organization practices, and providing resources to help marginalized students and ensure that all students feel safe and supported.
Cultural partnerships. Create partnerships with local organizations or cultural groups to promote awareness and understanding of diverse perspectives.
What lecturers can do. Lecturers are in a great position to have a major impact on reducing bias in the study process.
Prioritize inclusion and diversity of perspectives in curriculum. Lecturers can prioritize inclusion and diversity of perspectives in curriculum content and lesson design. Lecturers who can choose readings, videos, and activities when creating lessons can purposefully include perspectives from diverse cultures, abilities, and perspectives. Students can also experience diversity and representation in the classroom when they are given voice and choice.
Encourage sharing. Lecturers can ask students to share about themselves, and what is important to them will help the lecturer make choices and provide students with choices that reflect their needs and preferences.
Promoting collaborative learning. Encourage collaboration among students from diverse cultures to appreciate diverse perspectives while strengthening essential interpersonal skills. Create a science project that challenges students to solve real-world problems, such as water scarcity, or a literature assignment that encourages cross-cultural comparisons of storytelling traditions.
Transparent assessment practices. To reduce bias, provide students with the assessment criteria before the assignments are given and use them for assessment. This ensures that students know what the expectations are and how to meet them, and that marks are only given for meeting the stated expectations.
In conclusion, bias self-reflection emphasizes self-awareness, seeking feedback, and adapting teaching to reduce cognitive, cultural, and institutional biases. Through reflection, inclusive curriculum design, transparent assessment, and culturally responsive teaching, lecturers can ensure that all students, regardless of background, feel valued, supported, and fairly represented.
Now we invite you to the quiz section where you can test your knowledge by answering 3 questions. Tick the correct answer. Whether you chose right or wrong, you will be given an explanation for the answer. Here we go.